So, Steve, we've only been doing this podcast for 2 months now, and we're already ready for Hacking TV, the next generation.
Well, and if by next generation you mean younger than us, then indeed I think we are more than ready. I think we are desperately in need of the next generation.
So we have assembled a focus group that, by traveling far and wide to the other side of Steve's apartment and downstairs in my house in Montclair, New Jersey, and pulled out our teenage children who are going to be the center of this week's podcast.
And by the way, you could also argue the center of the media universe. I mean, you know, so Murray, who's going to be with us in a minute, is 17, and Claire is
16,
and they are the ideal age to tell us what they're watching, what they're not watching, what interests them, what they're willing to do without. And so, you know, I think much as our audience enjoys our banter, this week we'll hand the focus of the half hour over to our focus group and our two wise young media consumers.
So coming up, Claire and Murray, and if you want to play along at home, tweet to at Hacking TV your answers to any of the questions or your reactions to what they say.
And so we're off.
Okay, let me so welcome Murray and Claire. Thank you for subjecting yourself to podcast torture.
Thank you for having us.
We want to talk, I think, about a topic that you enjoy, which is TV and video and all the stuff in between that you see on little screens, medium screens, and big screens. Let's start just with sort of your average school day. Murray, where in the course of your average day does video fit in of any sort?
It depends from class to class. So in my science class, actually, every now and then we'll watch a video either about what's happening in space or, you know, anything that around that topic. But overall, it's mostly like 1 or 2 classes where video kind of fits in.
And what about just your personal stuff? By the time you get to school, would you have seen any video on a phone or a computer?
Yeah, probably.
What sort of things would you watch sort of in the morning and during the day?
In the morning, just to kind of wake up, just browsing Reddit. So watching videos that are voted best on that.
And then what about after school in the evenings?
After my mountain of work and running cross country or track, I usually use either like Netflix or like once again Reddit as a way to like just kind of wind down.
And what devices, if any, are you using during this?
Phone and computer.
Phone and computer.
But I know many people who use their tablets as a main source of their video watching or school needs.
And did you sneak any video views during the day at school? Lunch, whatever.
The school's Wi-Fi blocks it, so it's a little harder.
Claire, how would you answer that question? What's your average day?
I mean, it depends on how... For the school thing, it depends on how determined I am to watch some video, but it's definitely much more possible at my school. But throughout the day, in the morning, sometimes, like some YouTube videos, some Netflix if I'm into like a really good TV show. Then, if I'm not too busy throughout the day, maybe some Netflix again.
During the school day?
I mean... You know, just like I can if I want to. Like you wouldn't. Like when I was little, I used to read books and I would walk around with them and bump into walls. It's kind of like that. It's like if I'm in the middle of a good TV show, I have the power to keep watching it. If
on the computer or the phone.
Usually my computer, but I'm kind of weird like that. Most of my friends use phones for like in school technology stuff.
And in the evenings, what are you likely to do?
Like in between homework and all that stuff, YouTube mostly for just like kind of brain numbing, winding down after school. You know, like stuff that doesn't take that much thinking, like cute animals and like people doing stupid things.
And how would you break? Well, so you're pretty much all of your video is on a computer. You don't use the phone much.
I mean, I use my phone a little bit. I mean, it has data, so for video, I don't know. Anything that isn't data related, I'd probably use my computer.
Do either of you ever watch anything on a big screen, like a television set, for example?
The last thing I watched on television set was our weird bootleg live stream to the TV of the Republican debate, and that was still through my computer live streaming, just airplayed.
Why did you throw it up on the big screen?
Easier for like everyone to watch instead of just me. So instead of all gathering around the computer and like shouldering up on that, it's easier for my parents and I to watch it on the TV.
When do you watch?
Well, for me, yeah, it's for when I'm watching with a lot of people. Like if I'm having friends over and we want to watch something together, we use but we don't really use the TV. We just use the Apple TV to reflect our phones up onto the TV, or that kind of thing. If it's not with other people, I probably wouldn't watch on the TV.
And so let's talk about how you figure out what to watch. Alex, you mentioned that Reddit is important to you. Tell me about why Reddit, as opposed to anything else, is a good place to find videos. And are there any other sources that help you find either short or long stuff to watch?
If I'm watching something, it's mostly like whatever kind of comes across my interest at the time. So, I don't particularly follow any specific channels. Like there are a few that I watch every now and then, but really it's just whatever internet rabbit hole I follow is what I end up watching most of.
Like what and what kinds of things draw you into the hole?
It's like for Reddit, it's a conglomeration of things. It's just whatever's voted best. But if I'm watching, I just finished Narcos recently, and so because I watched that, like watching videos of the actual history of what happened and certain things like that, and just kind of clicking through on like what's suggested as the next video. So it's really situational.
So it sounds like Reddit will get you into YouTube, and then YouTube suggestions will sort of lure you from there.
Yeah, that's what happens sometimes.
So Narcos gets you to YouTube, which gets you to historic videos that tie back to the fiction.
Right. Yeah.
And how do you pick when it's time to pick a series to watch? How do you pick a series?
On Netflix or?
Yeah, on Netflix or any other place that you might watch series.
Whatever seems good in the pilot episode.
Are you going and like testing pilots? Or are you waiting for buzz to come to you, or do you have?
I knew that Narcos was good, but for some, I've watched some weird movies on Netflix that people have just rated terribly. It's just been late at night. It's like, okay, why not? So, there is some moments where I'm not looking for buzz. I'm just looking for something that's, there to watch. But there's no series where if I didn't like it, I just followed through because I had time.
Claire, how do you find stuff to watch?
The Netflix recommending algorithm is pretty good for me. I found it work well. If I combine what it says I would like, and then I go through those and see which ones I think I would like, I usually find things that I'm interested in. And there's also, like you said, just you watch the pilot, and if it's interesting, you just keep watching. I mean, there's probably, tons of TV shows that I never think about that I watched half a pilot and then was like, nope, not for me.
And in terms of the short clips that you watch, how are you finding those?
Well, I mean, before I was sucked into YouTube and that whole thing, the way I got into it was my friend recommended a specific YouTuber, and then that kind of just took off, and the the like related videos section is very dangerous because it just has so many other things that if you start with one thing, you can end up branching off, and also it's just things you see on Facebook and whatever that your friends are interested in.
Are there any other sites that make recommendations that are worth it for you? Either of you? Does anybody know you?
I don't think there's another platform that is matched up to what YouTube and Netflix have done in terms of recommendations.
Well, but talk about that Schenectady, New York film and that guy who recommended him, because that was interesting.
So there's a film critic I watch on YouTube whose username is yourmoviesucks.org, and what this guy does is he actually, to get views on his channels, he kind of rips apart like bad pop culture movies, but then he'll also release these amazing, really long videos that talk about the best movies of 2013, which he released like 3 weeks ago. So he takes a lot of time to kind of make this huge list, and as part of one of those lists, he found this massive, like, amazing movie that's like not depressing, but it's a little deep. It's like you need to be ready to watch a deep movie, and so he's doing this extremely long, like, dissection of what it means and how he thinks about it. So if I end up on YouTube and, you know, I see that he's posted something new, like, that's something I'm still following. So it really, you know, there's some people who make much longer strings of videos compared to, you know, the once a month, like, here's a video, all right, like, you'll get something new in a month.
So here's something interesting. Neither of you have mentioned Facebook.
Claire did.
Well, but is Facebook as a recommender of videos or as a friend? Like, how does it, like, it seems like a missed opportunity for them that they're not doing a better job telling you what's in your friend group is popular.
I mean, for me, I did say, like, my friends have a variety of interests that don't always intersect with mine, but sometimes they'll link me to a video that I'll find interesting, and it will show me a whole another section of YouTube that I hadn't seen before.
Murray, nothing? Facebook?
I mean, Facebook just suggests, like, there's a few pages I follow from a long time ago, and I just keep forgetting to unsubscribe from them. So I don't really watch videos from Facebook. And anything that I do watch is just, like, kind of meme-based, like, 4 seconds long. So, I mean, I was watching Vines and, like, Vine is still huge, but when that was the only thing on Facebook, like, I would watch those. But since Vine is kind of, not zoned out, but, like, become less omniscient in terms of, omnipresent is the word I was looking for, of its existence, I've been not really watching Facebook video.
Do you, you talk about subscribe. Either of you, I mean, are there things that you follow that you want to watch, or at least be aware of every episode, be it TV series or YouTube series or anything else? Where Claire, are there things that you follow?
I mean, things like Hulu and Netflix will do that for you. So if all of the shows on Netflix that I've ever watched, when there's a new season, Netflix will just tell me. It will email me. It will have a little thing in the corner, and I think that's really useful. And Hulu also, like, if you watch a couple episodes, it will keep telling you when there's a new one. So, I mean, with YouTube, you have to, like, actually subscribe.
And do you use that feature?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The way I, like, start my, like, I get home from school, I want to just kind of decompress or whatever, I'll go to my subscriptions, like, feed and just look at what the YouTubers I'm interested have put out today.
That's funny. I haven't subscribed to a single channel, like, on the complete opposite spectrum. My whole thing is, if there's like a channel that I like and I want to continue watching, like, in my head I'll know that I want to go to them. But the whole concept of subscribing, it's like, to me it doesn't really make sense, because, like, the subscription feed you were talking about, I've never seen that. So either YouTube's not doing a good job of explaining how to actually use subscriptions functionally, other than as a base way of showing support for a channel, it's like subscribing doesn't really do anything for me.
But are there things that you may, a week, you don't want to let a week go by without watching or checking in with certain either shows or makers?
Oh, of course.
And you just remember to go see them?
Yeah, because I know that they consistently put out content, so either that or I just kind of guess and check on a date, and if they don't put anything new up, then I just wait a few days.
What would you say, it wouldn't be a good week if you didn't see a video by, what are your top 2 or 3?
It wouldn't be not a good week, it would just be, like, they're probably taking longer on a video, or they're traveling. It doesn't enter my head as it not being a good week.
Of the people you follow, who are your 2 or 3 favorites?
That's the thing, it's like mostly random video. Like, I don't actually really follow anyone that closely. I mean, there's the movie critic that I was talking about before, but other than that, it's just kind of random channels here and there.
Claire?
I like college humor. Since you unsubscribed to HBO, I follow John Oliver on YouTube. Those are my 2 favorites. I mean, there are also those vloggers, but I've mostly grown out of those.
So, let's talk about long versus short. If you were going to sort of think about, in rough proportions, how much of your time you're spending watching, short little clips versus longer shows. And a show could be a vlogger going on. I might ask us later about professional versus amateur, but just right now, talk about whether which do you think you spend more time on, long ones or short ones, and why? Claire?
I kind of go through phases because I feel like there's much more of a commitment when it comes to, like, a TV show. Like, you need to have a certain amount of, like, mental energy, but at the same time, it's also just, like, it takes you out of the real world more. Like, if you're gonna watch, like, a season of Dexter or whatever, it's less, like, real. It's more of a, like, opiate. If you're watching YouTube, it's more like I'm taking a study break or something, and it's just, like, less of a commitment.
Which do you think if you were going to add up how many minutes you spend in an average day, which do you think you spend more minutes on? Lots of little ones or a handful of big ones?
Well, until recently, I would have definitely said a handful of big ones, but I think now that I'm more busy, I spend more time on YouTube than Netflix.
How would you answer that, Murray?
Well, for me, it really depends on. I mean, mostly it's short clips. It's if I want to find something, find some more information on a topic, or if I'm just interested in, like, watching some animation channel. Those won't extend into 20 to 30 minutes just because it takes more effort to do that. But every now and then I'll come across a video where it's, mostly those are through Reddit. Those are the ones those aren't the ones that I end up finding through my own kind of exploration into YouTube. And those usually have more weight to them. They're more important. So mostly it's smaller videos, and so to answer your question, I would say I probably spend more time watching small videos. But then again, if I get into a TV show, I'd binge that, and then of course that's gonna take up all my time. So,
but that's rare. It's like,
yeah,
it's not like in some other day and age you would at some point in the day you might chill out and just, like, zone out and watch a TV show. You're most of the time more active, clicking from one thing to the next, except occasionally when you get hooked on something you want to binge.
When I started Game of Thrones, my world was Game of Thrones until I caught up, and it's the same for Dexter and any other show, Breaking Bad. Like, the moment I enter those shows, like I really get into it. But other than that, it's just mostly kind of like, yeah, clicking from one thing to another.
Now, a similar but not the same axis is stuff made by professionals, Game of Thrones, stuff made by amateurs, much but not all of what you see on YouTube, because YouTube has College Humor, which is a big company, and all those other things. So if you were going to, Murray, guess which you watch more of, amateur or professional, and when does that even matter to you?
It doesn't really matter to me. It matters if the content is entertaining or not. But by that, by your ruling, I definitely watch more amateur than professional.
And what is it? Is there a reason why the amateur tends to call out to you more than the professional, or?
Amateur just releases content more. What's the word? More frequently than professional content does. Because if you think about a TV show, they'll release once a week. But some of the channels I watch, they release daily or once every 2 days. So it's easier. It's easier and more accessible to get to the content.
Claire?
Well, for some things, it's like I have so many like different things that I watch. It's not really about how often they post, but there are some things that are just better amateur. Like, I'd rather watch some random video that people think is funny of some like cat jumping into a box and being covered in confetti than like the BuzzFeed like very like cold scientific version of they just like throw a dog and a cat in a room and videotape what happens. Like, it just, like, sometimes the amateur one is just better.
And is there anything where you'd say the other way, where the professional is better or not?
Well, yeah, like, there are TV shows that are better than, like, YouTube skits that have bigger budgets, that are more, like, immersive, but, in both cases, I'm just looking for realisticness, and so it, like, both ends of the spectrum, it's more realistic, the ones that I choose.
So yeah, what's funny is one of the channels I watch, it sounds amazingly stupid, and it would never succeed as a TV show because of the form factor that it works in, which is YouTube. But it's these two guys who literally sit on a couch and play games and they talk. And it sounds unbelievably stupid, but there's something about... And, like, they're not professional entertainers. They're just two people who just sit on a couch and, like, they're best friends and they play games and talk. And they get, like, 200,000, 150,000 views on almost every video. And, like, these are one of the guys who put out content, like, really quickly. And so there's just something about the fact that, you know, these aren't professionals, but they're people who are willing to, like, sit down and, like, just be themselves. They aren't trying to put on an act for, you know, a TV show, or, you know, it feels legitimate.
How do you look at John Oliver in that context? I mean, he's not all that different than a vlogger. He sits behind a desk and he rants, except he's got 25 writers, and every now and then they fly somebody in from Afghanistan. But does that matter? Does it, you know, the fact that, you know, John Oliver is from HBO and Dan and Phil are from their basement?
Well, I mean, I try not to care about that kind of thing because, like, who knows which YouTubers are, like, bought and paid for by advertisers and secretly have, like, a ton of money that they're using to make it perfect. Like, I don't know, I try not to, like, let that get in the way of how much I'm enjoying a video for its content. Like, I mean, it's always interesting to think about how something's made, but when I'm just watching the video, I try not to do that as much.
Since you bring up the sort of money that is pouring into YouTube, have any of the people that you've watched changed either for better or for worse because they have sponsors or anything that you can tell about either how money is affecting what they make?
I mean, I watch this one YouTuber who does list-based videos, and he did this one that was like 5 things you didn't know about coffee or something like that, and all of them were good. And at the end, he was like, and this was sponsored by like some like coffee creamer or something, and it made me upset because I was like, you can't really trust anything like facts on YouTube, but I was reasonably sure that this person was legit. And then he made a video that was like directly influenced by his sponsor, and so it just made me kind of uncertain whether it was worth it to keep watching his videos.
Murray, has money affected anything that you watch, for better or for worse?
The majority of people who I end up watching, actually, if anything, money doesn't make them worse people. Like, they don't feel like they have to put less effort into their content or sell themselves out. It just makes them more grateful to the people who do consistently watch them, because without the views, they wouldn't be able to make videos as much, or, you know, have someone who can edit videos. So usually there's not much of a change. It's not for better or for worse, but they don't change for the worse, which I guess is the part that matters.
So we've got time for one more question.
Let's just talk about your activities. Do you make or share, and those aren't the same thing, or comment on videos?
Me?
Sure, go for it.
I do what I like to call lurk, which is I don't do any of them. I observe, I'm a view, I don't like, I don't share, I don't comment. I'm merely just someone in the audience.
And why, given we live in the age of radical oversharing, why is that the right choice for you?
I don't feel like I need to, I mean, if someone, I don't know. I guess part of it, I don't think it takes a lot of effort. It's obviously, like, it's one button. But it's easier to just enjoy the content for myself and not trying to get other people to watch content that I enjoy. And, you know, if I happen to run across someone who enjoys the same type of content that I do, then we'll talk about it. But I don't feel the need to push it out into my social network.
Claire, where do you participate?
Well, I am on Facebook, and so I've got on Facebook fairly recently, and ever since then, it's so easy to just click share that when I see something I think my friends would be interested in, I do, because, I don't know, it just, then if they watch it, we can talk about it, and it's just kind of like a social thing.
What kinds of things do you like to share?
Just, you know, if I see a video that's silly or funny, or usually just funny stuff, not so much serious things, because, like, who goes on the unless you're like a boring grown-up, who goes on the internet to feel bad? You go on the internet to distract yourself from your work, and so so I only share things that I think will make my friends smile.
And you actually at times have been an eager commenter on YouTube.
Oh, well, yeah. I try to be not too invested in commenting because, you know, most people who comment on YouTube, well, not most, but, like, there are really loud, awful people who comment on YouTube, and so you can't take anything too personally if you're going to comment. But it can be interesting. Like, there are some rational people who comment, and it's interesting to see what people who might be in a completely different situation than I am, like, see what they think about this thing that we're watching together.
Claire, Murray, fascinating. It will give Saul and I plenty to dissect in the upcoming episodes of Hacking TV. Thank you both very much for sharing your unedited thoughts about web video. Saul, we're good.
So, indeed. So, thank you all for watching Hacking TV, and we will see you next week.
So let's do a wrap up after this.
Oh, sure.
Well, that was fascinating. I don't know about you, but what I thought was really interesting was thinking back to when I was 16 or 17 years old. I don't think I had any conscious thought about how I was consuming media or what I was watching or different behaviors, or I think I was a much more passive viewer than either of those rather eloquent young people were. It's an active age. They have parents in the business. We should acknowledge that this is not a representative sample of teenagers, but Claire, talked about the economics, how she was being very sensitive to who's getting paid, which I think is the world these days with all of the native content and sponsorship that the advertisers need to understand that the, people are onto them. Yeah. But here's what's interesting. If that same blogger that she described had said at the beginning, hey, this is sponsored by Nescafe, she wouldn't have watched it. So they baited and switched her a little bit. They gave her a good, fun coffee thing, and then at the end they said, oh, by the way, this is sponsored. I'm not so sure that's true. I think that if he had, said, Nescafe challenged me to go find 5 things about coffee, and he was honest, and he made it sound and was that he did the assignment with his usual creativity, but he acknowledged the constraint, they might have given him a chance, and they certainly will give him a second chance that way, and they won't, Claire said she's, watching that guy less. Excellent week. We're going to hack some more TV. We'll see you back here in a week to reconnect and see where the crazy TV space is going. See you next week. All right. For another week, keep on hacking. And we're out. Okay. All right.